Last summer, there was a spate of electric two-wheelers catching fire, and many were captured in viral videos on social media. While a majority of these incidents looked dramatic, most did not lead to fatalities. Why did these two-wheelers catch fire? And are electric vehicles safe? What is the government doing to mitigate this? Once again, we are joined by the Prince automotive expert, Kushan Mitra, to talk about these issues. Welcome, Kushan. Welcome to Dashboard. Welcome to the Print once again.
Thank you, Anurag. Good to be here.
What's this new challenge in India's push towards green mobility? These batteries, these cells catching fire. They did create a lot of buzz last year. I remember on social media.
They did create a lot of buzz. I mean, these videos look very dramatic because when an EV catches fire, there's a lot of smoke coming out, and there were several of these cases that at a period of time during the peak of summer around May, June, there was seeming to be a fire once every 2 or 3 days. And I'm very sure there'll be fires this year as well. So let's be honest. And I just recently, as you read in my previous story about Log9 Materials, which are the company that is making the first lithium ion cells in India, I spoke to their chief operating officer, Karthik Hajela, and he explained some of this to me. And one of the things he said is that in India, because price is a major consideration for many of the two EV makers, as well as the fact that we don't always get the best quality cells, because price isn't such a huge factor for Western companies. They're willing to pay more because the Western consumers willing to pay more. We don't always get the best cells, nor do we always use the best chemistry. The first thing to understand is something called thermal runaway, though. What happens is that cells can heat up and they can get damaged. Now, we all have remote controls in our homes, and if you've used old batteries, you've seen the acid on your batteries leak inside remote controls. Many of you would have seen that. That is what happens. The batteries start leaking, they start getting very hot. And lithium is not a very easy element to control. In fact, people have won the Nobel Prize for taming lithium, including Professor Goodenough, who I think is one of the most wonderful names of anybody. And they can heat up. Now, a single cell is not the problem, but a battery pack that you get in an EV sometimes has hundreds of cells. And what happens is if one cell catches fire or starts heating up, it propagates the heat to more cells. And then the entire battery pack catches fire. And that can cause a problem. While you rightly said most thermal runaway, most of these EV fires did not cause fatalities. In some cases, including a very bad one, Hyderabad, late last year, while EVs were charging, there was an EV showroom below a hotel, and some EVs in the showroom caught fire, and people, of course, unfortunately, the hotel could not escape from the fire. So propagation leads to the EV catching fire. We don't buy the best cells. However, newer and newer chemistries of lithium ions are coming. So there's no one chemistry of lithium ion cell. There are multiple chemistries. And these are making the thing better. They have better thermal qualities. And of course, the other huge problem in India is that it is very, very hot.
Kushan, you particularly said that we are not buying the best of the batteries. Could you take our viewers through the logistics of it? Where exactly is India getting all its EV cells? How much of it is actually being made in this country? How do you think is the future panning out for EVs and EV cells in this country?
Okay, so as I said, Log9 Materials, the company I wrote about this past Sunday, they are the first lithium-ion cell manufacturer in India. There are other companies, including another Bengaluru-based startup called Exponent Energy, that is going to be doing the same thing. Some companies like OSM, who have written about, Ather, who have written about, and Ola claim that they get their cells from South Korea and the United States. But a majority of lithium-ion cells used in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheelers, including all the cells on, say, the Tata EV cars, they all come from China. China has a huge grip on the cell market. Now, for cars, you have something called active cooling. So, just like a radiator cools the engine, you have a radiator system for the EV pack. But on two-wheelers and some cars, they have passive cooling systems. So, they're cooled by the ambient air. Now, if you do not control the quality of your cells and do not have a good battery and thermal management system, there can be heat that is built up because the ambient temperature can be in excess of 50, even 60, 70 degrees, it gets that hot.
Right.
And you cannot control. So these cells are coming from China. They're not high quality cells because again, say if a Western car maker to EV maker is paying 100 for those cells, the Indian company obviously are trying to save some money.
Right.
But the government is trying to resolve this in certain ways.
So, Kushan, coming back to Log9, what exactly is it doing differently, and what is, apart from being one of the few, initial players in the Indian market, for the Indian EV cell making market, what exactly it has done that sort of differentiates it from other players?
Okay.
And how is it that it's going to, is it going to shape the EV industry in times to come?
A lot of the cells, Log9, the most common cell used or cell chemistry used in the lithium market right now is something called lithium nickel manganese cobalt, NMC.
Right.
Now, according to Karthik, when I spoke to him, he said that NMC cells, while they're very good in terms of an amount of energy they store, they don't have very good thermal qualities. And in hot tropical climates like India, they may not be the best cells unless, of course, they're very, very well manufactured. Most of the market is moving away to a new chemistry called lithium ferrophosphate. Even Tesla is moving to lithium ferrophosphate, LFP, and Log9 is making LFP cells, but the cell technology they are doing a lot of their research into is called lithium titanate, which is lithium and titanium. And one of the things I learned was, in fact, India has significant resources of titanium in Kerala. So lithium titanate, while the most expensive of all the lithium chemistries, has a very, very long life. It can be charged up to 10,000 times, which means a cell can actually last the life of 3 cars. So a battery pack can have 3 lives in vehicles.
Right.
And a lithium titanate has such good thermal qualities that the only way I was told a lithium titanate cell can catch fire is if you throw it into a blast furnace.
Yeah. What about the sourcing of raw materials? Like China has, if I'm not mistaken, huge deposits of such minerals, which are...
So China has massive deposits of minerals, particularly rare earth minerals. Rare earths are important again in EVs because they're used in magnets. So while at the Log9 Materials Day Zero conference, I met another startup called Chara. Chara is doing steel magnets. Steel, of course, is much easier to get than rare earths. Of course, they're heavier, they're not as efficient maybe, but they're also working on the efficiency over there. And you don't need to use rare earths and be dependent on China. China has a lot of the lithium of their own, and they've also bought lithium mines in Australia and in Chile and Bolivia and Peru. The Indian government is working, I was told by Karthik, on getting lithium resources. However, we have not set up any lithium ore processing plants in India as yet. It is not just enough finding the lithium in Jammu and Kashmir, as we've discussed in a previous show. It's also processing that lithium into usable lithium.
Right.
And that's going to require a lot of capital investment. So one of the things I also learned, so one of the big investors in Log9 is Amara Raja batteries, the guys who make Amaron batteries. They are promising to develop 15 gigawatts of lithium ion battery capacity by investing 9,000 crores in Telangana.
Right.
So it will require a lot of capital.
But Kushan, that's for India. But the EV space is expanding all over the world. And ever since this sort of a trade war started between the US and the Chinese, it's been more than 5 years now. It started during the Trump era. The West, especially the US, has been increasingly trying to cut the dependency on China. So what sort of ways are they looking at when it comes to finding independency on terms of the battery making process? Because I was reading they are still hugely dependent on Chinese.
No, and everybody's going to be hugely dependent on Chinese for a while. Let's be honest about that. The Japanese and the South Koreans do make cells. Toshiba is a big leader in lithium titanium technology. And LG Chem is a big leader in LFP. But they just make enough for themselves and little bit of exports. The Chinese have really ramped up their electric vehicle space. They've become a net exporter of cars now. And they're making huge strides in this. It's going to be difficult to win off China, whether it's the Americans or the Europeans or even India for that matter. But we have to try doing more and more and more. And there's no excuse to not developing our own lithium or cell making capabilities. I do hope Log9 ramps up. They can only make about 50 megawatt hours of cells right now, which is only enough for 20,000 two-wheeler EVs.
Right.
So they have to ramp up. They're talking of setting up a gigawatt plant. And of course, the Amara Raja plant, other cell makers have said we'll do more. But it needs government support to get the lithium, mine the lithium. Also, the big problem in India, as I was told, is we do not have enough talent in our engineering colleges. We're not learning the, chemistry, electrochemical engineering as much as we should. Which is a problem because China is now taking the lead in things like sodium ion technology. And sodium is, of course, much more easily available.
Right.
Companies like BYD, where a Chinese company now has end-to-end, they make everything from they mine the lithium all the way to making the car.
Because it's also a lot of research that you
Yes.
that you stress on, like that the government needs to push for.
Yes.
So we mostly today talked about two-wheelers
Yes.
and two-wheelers catching fire, but there have also been a few incidents in which four-wheeler
Yes.
battery packs have caught
There
fire.
was a very recent incident which involved a Tata vehicle in Pune, and the post-mortem of that, it turned out that the owner of the vehicle had repaired the headlight of the car from an unauthorized dealership or outside, right? You think it's a headlight, I can get it repaired from outside. The problem in an EV is that all electricals have to be repaired properly, because what apparently happened in this case of Tata is there was a short because of the headlight. It led to heating, that led to the battery heating, and the car caught fire. So you cannot, when you repair EV, whether it's a two-wheeler, three-wheeler or four-wheeler, you have to go to a proper place because you don't want to take a chance with them catching fire. Right. And cars are these cars, I won't say are fragile, they're very strong, but it's not the same as repairing a car mechanically.
Right.
So you have to go to the right people. You cannot just say, even if it's just a headlight or even if it's body work. God knows we're wiring, God knows that the battery pack has been damaged. So in case of any accident, you have to go to the proper showroom.
You're saying the consumer, the buyer shouldn't be a worried lot when it comes to going for an electric choice.
No, they shouldn't be worried at all. They shouldn't be. I mean, electric cars, I just drove the new MG Comet,
right,
which you're going to read about in the column. And the operating cost of that car is incredible. That car, I mean, okay, it's Chinese, but micro cars aren't for everybody. The Tata Nano failed, but it's 65 paise a kilometer.
Right.
If you charge it at home, I mean, that's incredible, right?
Right. That's all for this episode of the Dashboard. At The Print, we believe in non-hyphenated journalism, high quality, fair and questioning journalism. Our exceptional ground reporting is something we are very proud of and encourage reporters to travel across the country to tell the stories no one does. All of this comes at a huge cost. To encourage us and support our work, I request you to please opt for a paid subscription. You will be able to see the process on your screen and can follow the link in the description of this video. Thank you. Thank you for watching Dashboard.